face it, guys, it is a really stressful time right now. In this video, I'm going to bring you 12 of my favorite stress management tips to try to help us get through this crazy period of time. Don't turn away, because that learning starts right now. Hey! Howdy! Thanks for learning about MS with me, Boster. I started this YouTube channel to help my own MS clinic patients learn between visits, and it's my hope that through these videos, I can help you learn too. If you're impacted by MS and you want to up your game, please consider subscribing to the channel. And make sure to ring the notifications bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming content. It is a crazy world we're living in. As I make this video, it's the middle of April 2020, and the world is suffering from a global viral pandemic. I have been doing telemedicine, talking to families on camera day after day, and I can share with you that without exception, everyone is feeling more stressed out. There are all kinds of stressors, not just the impending COVID infection, not just concerns of health and happiness, but other things like we're all stuck at home with our families and we feel quarantined and trapped. Now, nobody goes home at night and says, honey, let's get stressed out. That's not a conversation that anyone has. And yet, stress can worsen depression. Stress can actually worsen MS symptoms. There's even an ongoing debate as to whether or not stress can cause an MS relapse. The bottom line is, learning to manage and cope with our stress is a good thing to do. And I think that now, of all times, is an excellent time to beef up on stress management techniques. And I wanted to take a few minutes and review with you 12 of my favorite go-to tips to manage stress. Now, before I start with my tips, I think that you and I need to do a gut check. And what I mean by that is, I need you to ask yourself a very challenging question. Are you contributing to your own stress? I'll be honest and tell you that I know that I am. To be frank with you, I oftentimes use stress as an excuse. Oh, I'm just really stressed out at work. Or I use stress to describe my personality. Well, I just live a stressful lifestyle. Or I use stress to describe my job. Oh, of course, the job is stressful. And the reality is, I need to be more careful with the words that I use and more attentive to the fact that I'm allowing stress to be normalized in my life. I need to work on changing the words that I use and the way that I think about stress if I'm going to stand a chance at improving upon it. So I'm going to ask you the same hard question. Are you inadvertently contributing to the degree of your stress the way that I am? Food for thought. Okay, let's do the tips. Tip number 1 coming at you right now. Tip number 1 to manage stress is to ensure that you have enough quality sleep. Seriously, if you're not getting a proper amount of sleep, you are stacking the deck against yourself from the moment you wake up. If you're trying to grapple with stress, a really straightforward and highly successful tip is to get more hours of sleep. Go to bed an hour early. Make sure that you're not drinking bunches of fluids before you go to sleep so you're not waking up to go to the bathroom multiple times. Give yourself a fighting chance by getting an adequate amount of sleep, and you'll notice an improvement to your levels of stress. Tip number 2 is to eat healthy, well-balanced meals. I'm talking about 3 squares a day. If you can become practiced at eating a proper breakfast, a meal in the middle of the day, and a small dinner at nighttime, you're going to maintain blood glucose levels, you're going to have energy to get through your day, and if your food choices are healthy whole foods, you're going to feel a lot better. I have a bunch of videos on this channel about MS and nutrition, and I'll throw a link to a playlist up above in case you'd like to explore that further. The punchline is, eating healthy does more than just give your body nutrition. It can help you with your stress. Check it out. Tip number 3 is amongst the most powerful. Exercise as part of your lifestyle. People who exercise as part of their lifestyle, time and time again, are found to be able to manage stress much, much better. Go for a walk. Do chair yoga. Participate in water Zumba. Get moving. Whatever that means to you, I want you exercising as part of your lifestyle, not just to improve your long-term outcome from MS, not just for heart health and brain health, but also for stress management. It is a perfect opportunity to explore exercise, and you will find that your stress levels start to decrease. Try it out. Tip number 4 is to make sure that you're doing at least one thing that you enjoy each day. When I was a professor in a medical school, I used to ask the medical students and the residents each morning on rounds what they did fun last night. And it was so sad to me that many of those trainees couldn't come up with a single thing they had done that they had enjoyed. If you're listening to this, I challenge you, make sure that you're doing one thing that you enjoy each day. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be, I read a book for pleasure for 10 minutes before I went to sleep, or I watched a half an hour of a TV show that made me laugh, or I took my dog for a walk and that was awesome, or I had a beer with a buddy of mine and it was great to catch up. But I challenge you to do one fun thing daily, and you will find that it helps you manage stress a lot better. Number 5 is a big one. Learn to say no.
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 Learning to say no is not easy. So often in our culture, we want to please others. We want to say yes. We want to help out. Yes, 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 yes. No, 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 no. Learn to say no. And learn to avoid stressful situations and stressful people. When that person that always stresses you out calls and says, let's go out for lunch, practice saying, I can't do that right now. And if you can practice saying no and learn to be a little bit selfish, you'll find that your stress levels decrease. You're not required to say yes to everything. Practice saying no. Piggybacking off the last tip, tip number 6 is to become better at time management. If you can practice not overcommitting yourself, practice prioritizing the most important stuff first and the stuff that's less important later. If you can look at a large task and break it up into chunks that are easily doable, and if you can budget some me time each day, your stress levels will plummet as your time management improves. This is a tip that requires some effort, but it can pay huge dividends. Improve your stress by improving your time management. Tip number 7 is something that I, Aaron, personally need to work on. That is learning and practicing relaxation techniques. These are things like quiet meditation, deep breathing, yoga, tai chi. These are tools that every single one of us should cultivate and maintain. And practicing a relaxation technique such as these can do a world of good. I challenge you to become good at one of these relaxation techniques and to practice it throughout the day. It needs to become your go-to. When you become stressed out, you remove yourself and meditate for 3 minutes, or practice deep breathing in the quiet of your office, or take a moment and do some yoga. I challenge you, and I feel strongly that if you embrace this challenge, you will manage stress much better. On a personal note, this is something that I desperately need to become better at. And I'll let you know in future videos how I do. Tip number 8 is really a cool life hack. Actively practice gratitude. Now, check this out. There's actually some science behind this. People that actively practice gratitude, they go out of their way to be thankful and to let people know that they're thankful for things, are happier. Check it out. Simply by practicing gratitude, by taking a moment to thank people for things they do and be thankful for the things around you, can markedly improve your stress levels and mood. And if you don't believe me, I double dog dare you to try it, and I think you'll be shocked at how it actually helps. Thank you for thinking about it. Tip number 9 is next level stuff. It's keeping a stress journal. Now, the reason to keep a stress journal is so that you can start to identify patterns and pick out triggers for stress. It works like this. Simply get a notebook with a pen, and when you have a stressful event, grab it, write down the time and date, and then write down a couple key things. How did this stressor make you feel, both emotionally and physically? Number 2, how did you react to the stress? And number 3, what did you do to self-soothe yourself later on? Jot that down. And each time you have a stressful event, mark down those notes. We can go back to that later, and you can start to identify triggers, things to avoid, things that you want to alter or adapt to, or things that you need to accept. And we can figure out which techniques were successful for managing the stress and which ones not so much. If you really want to tackle stress, tip number 9 is to keep a stress journal. And if you take my advice and do it, do me a favor and leave a comment in the section down below about how it went. I would love to hear from you, as would the viewers. Tip number 10 is a really big one, and admittedly, it's something that I am not yet good at. It's to accept that you can't control the uncontrollable. There are certain things that cause stress that you can control. There are other things that cause stress that you cannot control. And accepting that they exist and that you can't control them is the first step to making them better. What do we do when we can't control the uncontrollable? We learn how to adapt. We learn how to alter. We learn acceptance, and this allows us to move forward. It's a powerful tip that I am absolutely trying to work on, and I challenge you to work on it also. And if you do, I think that you'll find that your stress becomes much more manageable. Tip number 11 is not to depend upon drugs and alcohol for stress management. If you drink a few beers or use a little drugs, for the next hour you might forget about your stress, but oftentimes it comes back and then some. And in fact, those behaviors can actually create stressors. And so I'm not asking you to be a teetotaler and avoid completely. I am asking you to be aware that you don't want to become dependent on alcohol and drugs as your key tool for stress management. Not the best plan. Tip number 12 is another big one: to practice mindfulness a few minutes each day. I would roughly define mindfulness as the opposite of multitasking. Multitasking is when you're doing 16 things all at the same time. Mindfulness is when you focus all of your energy, all of your attention on the moment now. You're not thinking about what happened in the past. You're not planning for what happened in the future. You are existing in the moment. And I'm challenging you to do this for just 1 to 2 minutes each day. For example, right before you eat a meal, maybe you have a moment of quiet where you look at the meal, you smell the meal, you appreciate those that are around you, you appreciate everything that went into putting this meal together and how it's going to taste when you eat it. Literally spending 1 minute doing that before you eat not just enhances the experience, but this practice of mindfulness can do wonders for improving stress management. I'll give you another example. When you prepare the meal, turn off the TV, turn off the YouTube. Don't have conversation. Just focus on making the sauce. Focus on preparing the salad. Be in the moment for that brief period of time, and it will pay dividends for your stress management for quite some time. Mindfulness is something that all of us could benefit from, and I'm challenging you with tip number 12 to practice mindfulness for just 1 to 2 minutes a day. You can do that. And now for a bonus tip. My bonus tip is to get a pet. That's right. Pets are amazing at reducing stress, and I am a better person because of my dog River, and I have a lot less stress in my life because of my dog River. And if you have a pet, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't have a pet, I would seriously consider getting a pet to help you reduce stress. It's darn near magical. Question of the day: which of these 13 tips are you going to embrace to help you manage your stress? Please leave your answer in the comments section below. My name's Aaron Boster, and thank you for learning about MS with me. If you're impacted by MS and you want to up your game, consider watching this playlist right here. And YouTube Analytics thinks that you would adore this video right there, so you might want to check that out. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. It's easy. Just click that circle with my face in it. Go ahead, click my face. Until my next video or my next live stream, or the next time I see you in clinic, I'm wishing you a wonderful, healthy, and happy rest of your day.